Okay, so the next thing that today what we will be going to start is it's another again important chapter that we will be covering out the package process management. So how we are going to deal with the Linux processors. So the first questions that I'm going to ask in here, do you have any idea what is the process? Just forget about the Linux environment. Do you have any understanding of what is the processors in any computer? And do you know, just tell me how many processors are running on a one single computer? Do you have any idea? Like, is it one process, two process, three process? How many processors which will be running on the Linux or Windows, any environment? Do you have any idea about what is a process in a Linux environment or in operating system? What is a process?
Process is program execution.
Yes, exactly the correct answer. If you look at the process we consider as a kind of a program execution, That is exactly what we will be going to look at. So we are having, say for example, let's say if you are going to I'll show you that one. Let me show you. So let's look at like this. So let's say for example, let me share the screen first. Right, so hope you can see the shared screen. Let me show you some interesting thing. Right, so now if you want, when you say the process is a program executable which will be running in the system. Whenever you dealing with the Linux, all the program executions are being stored under the user sbin folder. Most probably this sbin folder. So we have discussed this thing, and here you will be seeing a lot of processors. So or else under the bin folder. So this is where you will be going. Let's say for example, if you install, so now you know how to install the packages. If you install HTTPD service, this is a particular package that you are going to install. If you install the HTTPD service, what you really want to know is whenever you want to start the service as a daemon, right? So now just to go ahead with the installations, and we'll see what we are going to do now. If you want to, whenever you just look at here, there is a binary folder on the sbin HTTPD. So whenever you are going to start the service, like say for example, if you say you are starting a service, HTTPD service, what they really going to do is, now you can check the status. So we have already gone through these commands. So if you check the status, you will be seeing that is active running. Here, look at this. It says that they have implemented, like whenever you executing this starting command, what they really going to do starting here is the sbin HTTPD binary file, which is running on the foreground. Actually not the foreground, it's running on the background. So you can see that has been run as a HTTPD service. So as explanation says, if you say the program or process is a running binary file in a Linux environment. If it is a Windows environment, running executable file. That is called process. Are you clear, guys? See here, whenever you start this Apache service, what they really going to start is this particular binary file, HTTPD binary. They are going to execute the HTTPD binary. Is it clear, guys? Like, even if you want to start it, you can simply run use sbin HTTPD. You can run like this, use sbin HTTPD start or something like that. So there are different type of commands you can run as per the commands that they are spacing, like -k, stop. So now if you check the status, see it is inactive. So once you actually, when you running this command, systemctl start this command, systemctl start HTTPD service, what they really going to do is they really actually going to run this command -k start in the backend. Now if you check the status, it is it says active dead. Let me check that one. Restart, you can say restart. Something happened with the HTTPD command when you starting this one. So rather than, what you can do is you can start like this. Now it's giving some errors. So I'll show you what is the reason. Let me check. I'll show you that one. So this is this will be rectified once you reboot the machine. Huh? Once you reboot the machine. So we will be going to learn these commands one by one. Nothing to worry. Right, it's now working perfectly. So anyway, what they really going to do is whenever you run these commands, they will be really actually running in the background. Use SBIN HTTPD binary to execute the particular program. So the process is an executable binary file or executable exe file in the Windows environment. So when you running a process, for each and every processes, the way behavior on the Linux environment, they will assigning ID. That is, we call it as a process ID. Process ID, or rather, sometimes you will be seen as a PID. For each and every process which you are running in the Linux environment, each and every process, those processors will have the process ID. To understand the process, we will be using this particular unique ID. The process ID cannot be duplicated to the multiple processes. It should be definitely unique. So always keep in mind the process ID is a unique. Like say, for example, if you run a process HTTPD, you can see this is when you run the systemctl status HTTPD service, you will be able to see the process ID. It says 72,438 process ID, 72,438. 438 process ID is that. So this process ID will not assign to any other processors until this service is running. Let's say now, if you stop the process, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the process HTTPD service. So when I stop this, you will be saying that there were no process ID assigned to it. When you stop in the processors, what they are going to do is they are going to release that process ID. So then someone else can be able to use that process ID to run any other services there. And when you starting this service again, they will be giving you a new process ID, which is not similar to the previous one. So now you can see it says 72681. Previously it was I'm not remember the process ID, but this previous one. So now you are getting the 72681. So whenever you restart the service, also look at this one. If you restart the service, now if you check the status, actually they will be getting a new process ID again. 72921. Previously it was 72681. So now you can see how this process ID is managed once you restarting, once you stopping the services. So that means restarting in the sense, even what you are going to do is killing the process and starting the process again from the beginning. Kill the process first and start the process again. So that is how they are going to do. So the similar thing that is applied here as well when you're doing the restarting and rest of the things. Are you clear, guys? Do you have any issues, concerns so far what we have discussed? Do you need any clarifications, guys?
Yes, sir.
And yeah, okay. I will be planning to complete your lectures like by the 30th of July. So most probably at the 30th of July, we will be going to complete your lectures. So with all the assignments and everything. So no, nothing to worry. Like, but of course, your last day for this semester is the 9th July. But your course coordinator, Mrs. Mallatta, no, like he has been requested, if we haven't completed the lectures, we can proceed with the lecturing because your exams data are not finalized yet. So because of that, normally the plan, if we able to complete everything in the everything as planned, of course, nothing to worry. Like we'll be able to complete your lectures by the 30th July, along with all the assessments and everything there. So that's the plan for the your syllabus covering. Like most probably we'll be able to do it, no worries. Like that, of course, I'm planning to cover out 6 hours per week. That's how we will be covering covering when we are completing this 30th July. But let's see if you do have any issues, like if you have come across with issues to cover out 6 hours per week, of course, that might be dragged to another 2 weeks, most probably, like second week of the August, most probably. Right. Right. So guys, do you clear what we have discussed so far? Do you need any clarification? Anything that you want to ask? Anything? Any concerns, questions so far what we have discussed? So now let me explain you actually the basics benefits of the concepts of the Linux process environment. Like you need to understand this one because that is one of the important thing while you are going ahead when you're dealing with the Linux environment. So the process management will be enabling, like will be giving you the benefit, like if you know the concepts. Like, so if you look at the process in the Linux, so we have learned that what is the process in the Linux. So if you look at the processes, so we will be going to deal with different type of commands. Like if you want to get the running processes details, we will be able to use the command called top. Running to get this is actually, they will be giving you the current process snapshot, current running process snapshot. Whenever you go forward, like if you want to get the processes which have been run on your systems, we will be using the ps command to get the idea of running processes which has already run, actually running processes, ps command. And then again, if you want to kill the commands, kill the processes, that you can use the kill command. So there are 2 type of kills. One is the pkill, the other one is the kill command. Pkill command is the most advanced command when it comes to compare with the kill command, because kill command is a very basic command, whereas you will get more advantages if you are using the pkill command, process killing. Like killing in the sense stopping the processes. You can use the systemctl command to stop the processes, but if there are any cases Like when you troubleshoot in the Linux environment, like if you want to stop the process uh, quickly, you will be using the kill and the pkill command. So likewise, we are going to learn like different type of commands in the Linux environment. But what you need to understand here is whenever you are going to deal with the process management in the Linux, you should understand there is a concept called CPU timing and memory management. CPU timing and memory management. So what you really need to understand in here is whenever you go forward on the CPU timing and the memory management, it's something like this. Let's say if you take the computer and let's say for example, if you do have the here you will be running like let's say for example, you are running with the Core i5 processor with the let's say 8 GB RAM. Core i5 processor with the 8 GB RAM. So that is what you are going to do. So if you are going to deal with this kind of environment like Core i5 process and the 8 GB RAM, keep in mind that whenever you are going to running the processors, the CPU does not have a capability to run the, like we call it as a multitasking concepts, right? The CPUs are multitasking. That means simultaneously they can run multiple processors. Like see here right now, I am using the web browser. At the same time, I am using the another process called Zoom, right? Zoom is one process that is I'm running, and the web browser also that to deliver you the whiteboard facility. I'm using the Zoom. The Mozilla Firefox. But you must remember that the CPU is a facilitator where what they are going to do is they will have time allocations for each and every process. Let's say, for example, that time allocations will be slightly vary within the nanoseconds time. So now, let's say if you are running two processes, like say, for example, Zoom and web browser, Zoom and the web browser. So what you need to understand here is when you're running these two processes, Zoom and the web browser, so for a given period time, they will be allowing you Zoom process to run. And within the nanosecond, they are going to switch to the web browser. Again, within the nanosecond, switch to the Zoom, switch to the web browser. Since these switching are happening in between nanosecond times, you won't notify the changes that process are switching. Because even though I'm talking continuously to you guys, but the Zoom will giving you the time slots. They have been given you the time slots. This is your time slots. So you are being allowed to run the service, Zoom service, within this given time slots. So the other time slots have been assigned to the other processors. Those time slot switching will be happen within nanoseconds. And these time slots also, they have been given not like a minutes, 2 minutes time. It's a nanosecond time allocations, nanosecond time. So quickly, these services are being switched in between. That's by using the nanoseconds. Are you clear, guys? Do you have any issues, concerns?
Yes.
Do you have anything to ask? Any questions? Any concerns, guys? Anything that you want to ask?
Sir, අපේ GUI එක process එකක් විදිහට වැඩ කරන්නේ.
Oh, GUI එකත් processes තමයි වගේ. Graphical user interface එකත් අනිකර process තමයි දුවන්නේ. ඒ හැම අපි service run කරන ඕනම එක process තමයි මේකේ. ක්ලියර්ද ඒක?
Yes, sir.
Anything else that you want to ask, guys? Any questions, concerns so far what we have discussed? Anything, guys?
සර් මේ කලින් දවසේ ලෙක්චර් එකේ පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා ඒක අහන්න.
Oh, අහන්න.
සර් මේ රෙපොසිටරිස් තියෙනවද? එතකොට
ඔව්.
අර අපි ඉන්ස්ටෝල් පැකේජ් ගොඩක එකතුවක් නේ රෙපොසිටරිස් කියන්නේ.
ඔව්.
මේක එතකොට සර් අපි අර ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරන ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එකේ මොකක් හරි URL එකක් දාලා මේ ඒක අරගෙන ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරලා ගන්න එක කොහොමද ආයි තියෙන්නේ තමයි මොන
මට තේරුන්නේ
ඒ පැකේජ්
ඒක මට තේරුන්නේ නැටින්.
දැන් සර් අපි යම් ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරලා ගහලා අපි මොකක් හරි පැකේජ් එකක් ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරාම මේ කොහේ හරි තියෙන රෙපොසිටරි එකනේ ඒ පැකේජ් එක තියෙන්නේ.
ඔව් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කන්ෆිගර් කරපු රෙපෝ එකකින් තමයි ගන්න අපේ මැෂින් එකේ.
ඔව්. එතකොට සර් මේ දැන් අපේ මේ කම්පියුටර් එකේ නැති එකක් අපි ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එකෙන් ගන්න wget දාලා මේ
ඔව්
download
එතකොට රෙපෝ වලින් නෙමෙයි ගොඩක් වෙලාට අපි ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කොහේ හරි හොස්ටඩ් තියලා තියෙන සයිට් එකකින් නේ ගන්නේ.
ඔව් ඒක ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරාට පස්සේ ඉතින් කොහාට මේ වෙන්නේ?
ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරාට පස්සේ කෙලින්ම යන්නේ මෙන්න මේ අර මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා පෙන්නුවේ user sbin කියලා ෆෝල්ඩර් එක. ඉන්ස්ටොලේෂන් එක කරාම ඒකේ බයිනරි ටික යනවා එතෙන්ට. ඒකේ configuration files තියෙනවා නම් ඒ අදාළ තැන් වලට යනවා. දැන් උදාහරණයට ඔයා postfix ගෙනල්ලා ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරොත් rpm එකෙන් postfix එකේ බයිනරි එක යනවා sbin ෆෝල්ඩර් එක ඇතුළට. බයිනරි කියන්නේ executable එක. configuration files එකකට ඔය postfix එකේ configuration files එක යනවා etc postfix කියන ෆෝල්ඩර් එකට. එහෙමයි ඒකේ තියෙන config ඒක එක තැන් වලට වැටෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක පැකේජ් එක අනුව ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වෙනවට නෙවෙයි. ඒක එයාගේ configurations files තියෙනවා නම් ඒක එතෙන් configuration files දාන තැනට යනවා. බයිනරි එක යනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම sbin folder එකට හරි bin folder එකට හරි. ඊට පස්සේ ඒක එලංගේ library files තියෙනවා නම් ඒක යනවා lib64 එකට හරි lib folder එකට හරි. ඒ වගේ අර එක තැන් වලට වැටෙනවා ඒක පැකේජ් එකට අදාළ ඒවා. එක locations වලට.
ඒ කියන්නේ සර් මේ
ඔව්.
පැකේජ් එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්ද රෙපොසිටරි එක නැතුව?
ඔව් පැකේජ් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ රෙපොසිටරි එක නැති පැකේජස් ඕන තරම් තියෙනවා අපෝ. දැන් ඔය මම ඔයාලට කිව්ව Moodle එක. Moodle කිසිම Red Hat එකේ කිසිම රෙපොසිටරි එක APT එකෙත් ඒ කියන්නේ Ubuntu එකෙත් කිසිම රෙපෝ එක නැහැ Moodle එකේ.
හරි සර් ඕකේ thank you.
තව මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද guys? ඔයාලට clarify කරගන්න. clarifications තියෙනවා නම් කියන්න. Right, so now just keep in mind that so this is how the CPU timing is working within the nanoseconds timing frames. The time will be switched in between the processors which you are running. So let's say if you have a 10 processors, all these 10 processors will be managed through this CPU timing process. So the memory management is another one. When it comes to the process management, especially in the Linux environment, Linux environment is considered as a Linux OS. OS is considered as a virtual memory OS. Virtual memory OS. Do you know why? It's considered as a virtual memory OS. Do you know why? And do you have any idea why they call this as a virtual memory OS? Is there any specific reasons? Do you have any idea on that? The reason why they will be calling this as a virtual memory OS, because if this is purely because of the security, if you are utilizing, let's say your memory, the primary memory that you consider in Linux environment is any operating system is the RAM. If you say the RAM is like a physical hardware which is plugged into your computer. By any means, if your computer has been hacked or infected with the malware, especially the RAM, since it's a hardware, if your RAM is infected with the malware, it is hard to remove those malware even with the reboot, because it's, if you are using the random access memory RAM in your operating systems directly, if your OS has been infected with the malware, and the malware will be infected your RAM. So then that RAM, the malware or the virus wouldn't be cleared even with the reboot. You need to replace the RAM in order to clear your RAM, the viruses. That's the issue. So whenever you are going to deal with the operating system environment, the operating system, what they really going to do here is, they are going to deal with the different aspects. Like what they will be going to do here is, since there are security concerns that if by mistakenly the malware has been infected to the random access memory, then the cleansing part of the malware isn't too easy. The only way that we can clear the malware is by replacing the RAM. That is the issue. Because of that, what they're going to do in the Linux environment is, whenever you install the Linux operating systems, this random, instead of the random access memory, they will be mapped this random access memory to the RAM to the virtual memory. So they are going to map to the virtual memory. So there is a corresponding memory slots for the each and every virtual memory slots in the RAM. So by any time, the Linux OS will not directly accessing the, or the Linux kernel will not directly accessing the physical random access memory or the physical RAM. Instead, they will be accessing the virtual memory, and virtual memory will be corresponding to the related RAM areas. So therefore, if the OS is being infected, has been infected with the malware, and the malware will only impact it to the virtual memory, and that will be not impact to the RAM. So even if that is impacted to the virtual memory, that means even the reboot will clear the malicious content. Is it clear, guys? That's why this Linux OS has been built as a virtual memory operating systems. They are not never utilizing the physical random access memory. Are you clear, guys? Do you need any clarification on this regard? Anything else that you want to ask in this regard? This is purely the security. Yeah? You must understand this is purely because of the security.
So එතකොට ඔය virtual memory එක කොහෙද දාන්නේ?
Again?
RAM එක ඔය virtual memory එකේ එතකොට මේ virus මොකක් හරි මේ උනොත් මේ effect වෙන්නේ. එතකොට මේ ඔගේ run වෙන process එහෙම අයින් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද අපහු play කරද්දී?
run වෙන processes කේ මට තේරුන්නේ
නැහැ. EPS දැන් අපේ system එකම virtual memory එකනේ උඩනේ කියන්නේ තියෙන්නේ.
සිස්ටම් එකම යන්නේ virtual memory එක උඩ තමයි ඔය.
එතකොට සර් දැන් මොකක් හරි effect එකක් වෙලා ওই virtual memory එතකොට අර RAM එකයි virtual දැන් කොහොමත් මේ virtual memory එකම එතකොට මේව කරනවානේ. ඒ කියන්නේ clear කරනවානේ. reboot කළා මොකක් හරි කරනවා. respectively. එතකොට සර් දැන් අර RAM එක මේ RAM එකේම තිබ්බත් virtual memory එකේ තිබ්බත් මොකද ඒක වෙනස?
ඉතින් දැන් RAM එකේ තිබ්බොත් එහෙම ඔයාගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා RAM එකේ තිබ්බොත් ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ RAM එක physical RAM එකට malware එකක් ගියොත් එහෙම මේ malware එක clear කරන්න බෑ. දැන් virtual memory තිබ්බොත් එහෙම virtual memory එක විතරනේ impact වෙන්නේ. එතකොට virtual memory එක clear වෙනවා reboot එකේදී. මොකද memory එකේ උ temporary ටික තියාගන්න. එතකොට malware virus එකක් ආවත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අරකට impact physical එකට impact එකක් නැහැ physical environment එකට. තේරුණාද ඒකට එන්නේ?
ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ෆිසිකල් කියන්නේ මොන වගේ එකක්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා?
ඒ කියන්නේ ෆිසිකල් කියන්නේ ඔගේ හાર્ඩ් දැන් RAM එකක් ඔය අල්ලලා බලලා තියෙනව නේද RAM එකක්?
ඔව්ද?
ඒක තමයි ෆිසිකල් RAM එක කියන්නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් වලටම කෙලින්ම මේ වෙන්න වෛරස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද?
ඔව් අපෝ වෛරස් ඕගොල්ලෝ මදර්බෝඩ් එකටම ලියන්න පුළුවන් වෛරස් එක. මදර්බෝඩ් එකේ ලියන්න බැරි මෙමරි චිප් එක මේ මදර්බෝඩ් චිප් වෙනස් වෙන හින්දා නැත්තම් මදර්බෝඩ් එකටම ලියන්න පුළුවන්. කෙලින්ම ආයි බෝඩ් එක මාරු කරලා තමයි නවතින්න ඕනේ. මේ ළඟදී Intel CPU එකට ලියුවේ වෛරස් එක ආවනේ මේ ළඟදී ස්පෙක්ට්‍රම් වෛරස් එක කියලා අහලා නැද්ද ඔයාලා? කෙලින්ම malware එක ආවේ ස්පෙක්ට්‍රම් malware එක. ඒක කෙලින්ම CPU එකට impact එක තියෙන්නේ. CPU මාරු කරන්න ඕනේ. Intel CPU ගලවලා දාන්න ඕනේ. AMD වලට යන්න ඕනේ processor. අපෝ ඕන තරම් ලියන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම ලියන ඒවාත් තියෙනවා. ඔය දැන් මම උදාහරණයට ස්පෙක්ට්‍රම් වෛරස් එක එහෙම එකක්. වෛරසස් කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ඕන එකකට ලියන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ මදර් බෝඩ් එකට ඕන මදර් බෝඩ් එකේ චිප් එකට ඕන චිප් එකකට RAM එකට ඕන RAM එකේ චිප් එකටම ලියන්න පුළුවන්. එකම දේ චිප් වෙනස් වෙන හින්දා තමයි මදර් බෝඩ් වල ලියන්න බැරි. හැබැයි වැරදිලා හරි malicious code එකක් RAM එක ඇතුළට යන්න පුළුවන් kernel එක through. එහෙම ගියොත් කියලා වෙනවා.
මේ virtual memory එක හැදෙන්නේ RAM එක උඩම නේ. දැන්
ඔව් virtual memory එක RAM එක උඩ නෙමෙයි වෙන්නේ virtual memory එකේ දැන් ওই memory එක මේගොල්ලෝ ගන්නකොට මේක memory එක map වෙනවා. virtual memory එකට map වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ physical memory එක virtual memory එකට map වෙනවා. එතකොට කොයි වෙලාවෙත් කිසිම process එකක් physical memory එකේ run වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔක්කොම process run වෙන්නේ virtual memory එකේ. හැබැයි ඒකේ mapping එකක් virtual memory එකේ පැත්තෙන් තියන් ඉන්නවා physical memory එකේ කොහෙටද map වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒක run වෙන්නේ නැහැ කවදාවත්. Clear දෙක. Guys, are you clear on that? Or do you need more clarification?
chat එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා සිංහල.
පොඩ්ඩක්. right. ඔව් මම explain කරනවා. දැන් මේකේ වෙන්නේ දැන් virtual memory කතාවේ කියන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. Linux OS එක කියන්නේ virtual memory OS එකක් විදිහට තමයි ගන්නෙ. හේතුව තමයි කවදා දැන් අපේ primary memory එක මොකක්ද? ඒ කියන්නේ අපි වැඩ කරද්දී අපේ secondary storage වල තියන් ඉන්නේවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් machine එකක වැඩ ක්‍රියාවලිය operating system එකක් කරන්න වැඩ කරන්නේ කොහොමද? ඔයාගේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වෙන්නේ RAM එක critical component එකක්. RAM එක critical වෙන්න හේතුව තමයි ඔයාලගේ OS එකේ මේ secondary storage එක කියන hard drive එකේ තියෙන component එකක් ඔයාලට පෙන්නන්න hard drive එකේ තියෙන component එකක් මේකේ hard drive එක කියලා හිතන්නකෝ. just imagine this is a hard drive. so hard drive එකේ තියෙන component එකක් කෙලින්ම ඌ ගන්න RAM එකට. හරිනේ. RAM එකට අරගෙන හිතන්න මේක RAM එක කියලා. RAM එකේ තියන් තමයි access කරලා ඔයාලට පෙන්නන්නේ. හේතුව RAM එකට ගන්න හේතුව තමයි ස්පීඩ්ම මෙමරි එක තමයි RAM එක ඊළඟට තියෙන ස්ටෝරේජ් එක hard drives එක. මොකද hard disk එකක් motherboard එකට map වෙන්නේ motherboard එකට map වෙන්නේ SATA cable එකක් ඕ වගේ. නමුත් RAM එකක් map වෙන්නේ කෙලින්ම direct bond එකක් තියෙන. cable හරහා නෙමෙයි map වෙන්නේ. නිකන් අර SSD දැන් ඒකනේ SSD speed කියන්නේ SSD එකක් වදින්නේ direct board එකට. කේබල් හරහානේ දැන් මේකේ කලින් තිබ්බේ ID කේබල් දැන් SATA ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ ඒ හරහා තමයි SATA හරහා තමයි මැප් වෙන්නේ. ID දැන් එන්නෙම නැහැ. ඒතර එහෙම තමයි මැප් වෙන්නේ. ඒතර ඔයාලගේ දැන් මෙතන තියෙන කේස් එක කන්සර්න් එක තමයි දැන් සර්විස් දැන් හැම ප්‍රොසෙස් එකක් රන් කරද්දිම RAM එකට ඇවිල්ලා RAM එකේ තියාගෙන තමයි රන් වෙන්නේ. ප්‍රොසෙස් එක ඉවරනාට පස්සේ ආයි සේව් කරාට පස්සේ කිල් ඒ කියන්නේ හිතන්නකො මම මේක ડોකියුමන්ට් එකක් ටයිප් කරගෙන ඉන්නවා ඒක සේව් කරලා එක්සිට් වුණාම ගිහිල්ලා හાર્ඩ් ඩිස්ක් එකට සේව් වෙනවා RAM එකෙන් අයින් වෙනවා එතකොට හැම ප්‍රොසෙස් එකක්ම එක්සිකියුට් වෙන්නේ RAM එකේ තියාගෙන හිතන්න ඔයාගේ ෆිසිකල් RAM එකට හැමතිස්සෙම ෆිසිකල් රන් වුණොත් එහෙම මැල්වෙයාර් එකක් ආවොත් ෆිසිකල් මෙමරි එකට ෆිසිකල් මෙමරි එකෙන් අයින් කරන්න බෑ මේ මැල්වෙයාර් එක හේතුව මොකද ඒක හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරයි එතකොට. හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් වලට ගියොත් එහෙම මේ RAM ඒක අයින් කරන්න තියෙන එකම දේ තමයි හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් රීප්ලේස්මන්ට් එක. ඒ කියන්නේ RAM එක ඒක ඒ RAM එක ගලවලා විසි කරලා අලුත් RAM එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ. ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් නෑනේ ඒක. මැල්වෙයාර් දැන් අපේ කම්පියුටර්ස් වලට මැල්වෙයාර් විදියට එහෙම දාන්න ගියොත් එහෙම වෙන වැඩක් නෑ ඉතින් RAM අයින් කර තමයි ඉන්න වෙන්නේ. ඒ හින්දා Linux operating system එක හදලා තියෙන්නේ ඊට වැඩිය වෙනස් විදිහට. එයාලා කරන්නේ එයාලා කියලා තියෙන්නේ RAM එක ඔයාලා RAM එකක් වැඩක් නැහැ. මෙහෙම කරන්න. RAM එකට වෙනුවට ඔයාලට දෙන්නම් virtual memory එකක්. RAM එක map කරනවා OS එකෙන් virtual memory එකට. එතකොට ඔයාගේ ඔක්කොම processors ටික run වෙන්නේ virtual memory එකේ. RAM එකේ නෙමෙයි. RAM එකේ correspondent එකක් තමයි virtual memory එක. එතකොට අර ක්‍රියේට් කරපු virtual memory එක උඩ තමයි run වෙන්නේ. නිකන් හරියට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ෆෝන් එක ගැන හිතන්නකො මම නිකන් සරල උදාහරණයක් කියන්නේ. ඔයාලට ෆෝන් එක ඕනම වෙලාවක ෆැක්ටරි රීසෙට් කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද? ෆෝන් එක ඔයාලට ඕනම වෙලාවක ෆැක්ටරි රීසෙට් කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. ඒක කොහොමද කරන්නේ?
සෙටින්ස් වලට ගිහිල්ලා රීසෙට්
නෑ ඒක හරි. මම අහන්නේ ඒක වෙන්නේ කොහොමද?
it's යට මොකක් හරි hard layer එකක් තියාගෙන අර උඩ තියෙන layer එක අයින් කරලා දානවා. ඒ වගේ වැඩක් නේ.
සරල කතන්දරයක් එතන කරන්නේ ඔයාලට කොයි වෙලාවෙවත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ ඔරිජිනල් ඉමේජ් එක සෙල්ලම් කරන්න. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ෆෝන් එකේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දෙන්නේ ඔරිජිනල් ඉමේජ් එකේ virtual image එකක්. ඔයාලා ඔය contact save කරන ඒවා image save කරන ඒවා ඔය හැම රෙද්දම කරන්නේ අර virtual memory එක virtual image එක උඩ. පල්ලෙහා ඇත්ත image එක තියෙනවා. ඒක ඔයාලට පෙන්වන්නේවත් නැහැ. ඒතර ඔයා reset කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ආයි අර තිබ්බ image virtual image එක මකලා අලුතෙන් ඔයාලට තව virtual image එකක් දෙනවා මෙන්න සෙල්ලම් කරපිය කියලා. ඕක තමයි කරන්නේ. සරල කතන්දරයක්. ඒකම තමයි මෙතන වෙන්නේ. ඔයාට කොයි වෙලාවත් ඇත්ත RAM එකත් එක්ක ඕගොල්ලෝ වැඩ කරවන්නේ නැහැ. virtual memory එකක් හදනවා. එතකොට ඔයාලගේ ඔක්කොම process ටික run වෙන්නේ virtual memory එකේ. virtual memory එක උඩ තමයි run වෙන්නේ. එතකොට malware එකක් ආවත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒක virtual memory එකට තමයි impact වෙන්නේ. virtual memory එක හැමතිස්සෙම reboot එකකදී clear වෙනවා. එතකොට RAM එකටයි කියන්නේ virtual RAM එකට ආපු ඕනම එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ physical RAM එකට නෙවෙයි virtual memory එකට ආපු ඕන එකක් reboot එකේදී clear වෙලා යනවා. එතකොට malware එක උනත් clear වෙලා යනවා. හැබැයි මේ malware එක clear වෙන්නේ මේ RAM එකෙන් විතරයි. hard එකේ එහෙම තිබ්බොත් එහෙම මේකේ එහෙමම තියෙනවා. ඒක ක්ලියර් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
එතකොට මේ ඒ කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය මැල්වෙයාර් එකක් RAM එකට ඇත්තට මේව කරන්න බෑ නේද? මොකද පවර් මේව වුණොත් එහෙම ආපහු RAM එක රීසෙට් වෙනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ
ඒ රීසෙට් වෙන්නේ ඔයාගේ virtual memory තිබ්බොත් තමයි. RAM එකට ඇත්තටම actual memory තිබ්බොත් එහෙම රීසෙට් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක එහෙමම තියෙනවා.
එතකොට පවර් ඕෆ් ගියාම මේ
ඒකේ තියෙන content එකනේ. නෑ power off කරාම ඔයාගේ යන්නේ ඔයා RAM එකට ගත්ත content එකනේ. content එක විතරයි. ඒක හරි. පැහැදිලිද ඒක? මං කියන්නේ malware එකක් එහෙම යවන්න බෑ.
සෝක Windows system වලත් තියෙනවද කොහොමද නැත්නම් Linux වල විතරද?
මට තේරුන්නේ
මේ ඔය RAM කතන් ඔය virtual memory කතන්දරේ Windows වලත් තියෙනවද කියලා? Windows
Windows වල නම් මට ෂුවර් නෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම ඇත්තටම Windows වල operating system එක ගැන දන්නේ නෑ. ඇත්තම කතන්දරේ කිව්වොත්. sorry guys. අර ඇත්තට Windows කතාව නම් මටත් එහෙම idea එකක් නැහැ. Windows I'm not quite sure about the Windows. Anything else? Like the other students, if do we have clear, like I just explained some clarifications with the Sinhala language, but like Hamzat, is it clear to you? Hamzat? We can't hear you. So others, like Hamzat, who else who having the like Nisha. අපලනේ අනිත් අයට තවුලක් නැහැ. ඉන්න අයට සිංහල තේරෙනවනේ ඔක්කොටම නේ. Right, okay. Right. So moving forward, so that's what we call it as a virtual memory OS. So in the Linux environment, keep in mind that this OS is considered as a virtual memory OS. Now you know what is the reasons. That is purely for the security purposes. Purely for the security purposes. So these are the things that you have to understand in the process management of the Linux environment. So let's go ahead with the different type of process concepts. And even before that, I just want to highlight you the life cycle of a Linux environment, like process life cycle of the Linux operating systems. So let me go through that one also, then you will understand that also. Process life cycle. So if once you create the parent process, so let's say this is the parent process, and then again Right. So so once you start the process, so this is, let's say for example, this is the process that they have started. So then the process will be going forward, and this is will be on the running state. So the process will be on the running state. But at some point, sometimes the parent process will stop their process and up and running the child processes. So there we are going to run the child process. Some locations, some instances, the parent process does not do anything. It's something like this. Let's say, for example, when you're working on environment, let's say you have a engineer, you have a architect, you have a lead role, you have a different kind of people there. So right, you have a like engineer, two engineers, like one associate tech lead, and likewise. So these two engineers, actually they are going to work in the Linux environment. Like these two engineers are the, like, say for example, tech lead is the parent process, and once he assign the task, what he is going to do is he is going to distribute the task to that two engineers. So that is, the two engineers are going to be the child processes. So at that time in the Linux environment, when they are going to running the child processes, these process concepts we call it as forking. මෙහෙම වෙනවට කියන්නේ fork වෙනවා කියලා. fork කරනවා, forking, and then once he fork it, so the process will be going to the waiting state. They will be not running anything because they are going to consume the child parent process resources and running the child processes. Now these child processes are now in the running state, this child process. And at some points, once they complete their task, they are going to exit the process by notifying that you can start the running. Now whenever the child processes are exiting, they are going to start the running on the parent process. So this is called the parent process. So you will be seeing this one in so many instances, because the parent process itself does not run all the tasks. So there are child processes they are going to create, and the child process is responsible for running the different tasks in their entire process life cycle. So this is the process life cycle that you are going to deal with the Linux environment. So process can be in a different state, like processors can be in a different state. Processors in the Linux environment can be in a different state. One is the running state, the other one is stop state, the other one is the zombie state. So of course, you know the running state in the sense that process is actively running. Stop state is the process is stopped, and sometimes the process might be waiting for some commands to rerun it again, or process might be waiting to some commands to kill it, totally kill the process. Zombies are the the processors which have been not cleared their processes properly. Zombie processors. So you might not experience zombie processors in most probably the Linux environment, where you will be seeing running and the stop processors in the process states. So there are three different process states: running, stop, zombie. So most probably you will be experiencing the running and the stop process states in the process environment. So is it clear, guys, this process life cycle? Are you clear? Do you need more clarification on this regard?
Yes, sir.
Anything else that you want to understand? Specific thing that you want to know? පැහැදිලි වුණේ හරි. මේක වෙන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. process life cycle එක කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් process එකක් run වෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. process එකක් run වෙන්න පටන් ගත්තම ඒ process එකට අපි කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම parent process එක කියලා. මේකට අපි කියන්නේ parent process එක කියලා. parent process. එතකොට ඒකට තියෙනවා parent process ID එකක්. PPID කියලා කියන්නේ ඕක PID කියන්නේ ඒකටම තමයි. ඕක run වෙද්දි මෙහෙම කතාවක් තියෙනවා. parent process එක හැමතිස්සෙම ඔක්කොම task run කරන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් උදාහරණයකට දැන් නික ඔයාලා ගෙදර ගන්නකො ගෙදර ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගත්තොත් එහෙම ගෙදර හැම වැඩක්ම ඔයාලා ඔයාගේ දැන් හිතන්න අම්මයි තාත්තයි ඔයයි තව දෙන්නෙක් විතර ඉන්නවා කියලා ගෙදර අම්මයි තාත්තයි ඔයයි අයියයි මල්ලි නංගි මල්ලි කවුරු හරි මොකු හරි ඉන්නවා කියන්නකො. එතකොට ඔය ගෙදර වැඩ සමහරලාට බෙදාගෙන තියෙනවා. දැන් තාත්තා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් රස්සාවට ගිහලා මහන්සිලා ගෙදර ඇවිල්ලා එයා මුකුත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. අම්මෝ වෙන ටික කරන. ඒතර ඔයා කවුරු හරි දෙනවා ගේ අතු ගන්න, තව කාටද දෙන විදු අතු ගන්න. අර ඔයාගේ ගෘහමූලිකයා තාත්තා වුණාට parent process එක තාත්තා වුණාට තාත්තා හැමදේම කරන්නේ නැහැ. වැඩ බෙදලා දීලා තියෙන්නේ. බෙදලා දීලා කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට කරගෙන යන වැඩ. එතකොට Linux OS වලත් එහෙමයි. parent process එක කොයි වෙලාවත් හැමදේම කරන්නේ නැහැ. එයා කරන්නේ child processors හදලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට task දෙනවා run කරන්න. ඒතර මෙන්න මේ child process එක හදන එකට අපි කියනවා fork එකක් කියලා. fork කරනවා කියන child parent process එකෙන් child process එකක් හැදෙනකොට. ඒ fork එක වෙනකොට දැන් උදාහරණයක් ගන්න ඕගොල්ලෝ ගෙදරදී හිතන්නකෝ දැන් මොකක්ද හරි කුස්සිය අතු ගන්නක් තියෙනවා එයාට ගේ අතු ගන්නක් තියෙනවා. කුස්සිය අතු ගන්න ගේ අතු ගන්න දෙකම තියෙන එකම කොස්සේ. කුස්සිය අතු ගන්න ඔයා ගේ අතු ගන්න අම්මා හිතනවා parent එක කියලා. හැබැයි ගේ අතු ගන්න හදද්දී කුස්සිය ඔයා අතු ගාගෙන ඉන්නේ අම්මා කුස්සිය අතු ගන්නකොට ඔයා ගේ අතු ගන්න ගේ අතු ගන්නකොට අර එක කොස්ස නම් තියෙන විදිහට ඔයාට කොස්ස ගන්න වෙනවනේ රිසෝස් එක ගන්න. එතකොට ඒ වෙලාවේදී parent එක අම්මා idle වෙනවා. අම්මා මොකුත් run වෙන්නේ නැහැ process එක. waiting state එකට යනවා. waiting state එකට යන්නේ ඔයා ගේ අතු ගාලා කොස්ස අම්මට දෙනකම්. waiting state එකට යනවා. process එක idle වෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒ වෙලාවේදී child process එක run වෙනවා. හේතුව තමයි මේ fork වෙනකොට process එකේදී ඔයාගේ main process එකේ තිබ්බ resources කියන CPU time එක memory එක ඊට පස්සේ hard disk space එක disk IO එක ඔය ඔක්කොම ටික child process එකට අරන් තමයි child process එක run වෙන්නේ. child process එක exit වෙනකොට ඔය ටික ඔක්කොම release කරලා exit වෙනවා. parent process එකට කියනවා දැන් මම exit වෙනවා. ඔයාට පුළුවන් ඔයාගේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යන්න. එතකොට ආයි parent process එක යනවා running state එකකට. එතකොට process අපි run කරගෙන යනකොට process එකේ status කීපයක් තියෙනවා state. mainly running state එක අනිත් එක තමයි stop state එක. running state එකේ තියෙනවා කියන අනිවාර්යෙන් process එක run වෙනවා. stop state එකේ තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ එයා මෙන්න මේ අවස්ථාවේ මේ තියෙන waiting state එකේ. මේ වෙලාවේ එයා බලන් ඉන්නවා process ඒ කියන්නේ process එකක් එනකන් ඒ කියන්නේ තව මෙයාට input එකක් එනකන් හරි මම අයින් ඉවර වුණා. දැන් අම්මා බලන් ඉන්නවා කොස්ස ගෙනත් දෙනවා. අන්න ඒ වගේ. මම ඉවරයි කොස්ස මෙන්න. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි එයා වැඩ කරන්නේ. running state එකට යනවා. child process එක kill වෙනවා. ඉවරයි එතන. එයාගේ වැඩ ඉවරයක් kill වෙනවා. ඔතන තව තියෙනවා zombie state කියලා. zombie කියලා කියන්නේ මම මේක explain කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ ඔයගලන්ට මෙතෙන්දී. ඒක ඇවිල්ලා ඇත්තටම ඔයගලන්ට හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ Linux environment වලදී ගොඩක් වෙලාට zombie state එක. නිකන් අර ඕපපාතිකෙවුන් ඉන්නේ. ඒ වගේ zombie state එකකින් කියන්නේ. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගෙදර හිතන්නකො පොඩි එකේ මාළි කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා කියලා ඌ මෙලෝ වැඩක් කරන්නේ. අන්න ඌ zombie එකේ. zombie state එකකින් ඌ TV එක දාගෙන බල ඉන්න ওই zombie එකෙක්. ඌට වැඩකුත් නැහැ කරන්නෙත් නැහැ. එතකොට ඌගේ වැඩකුත් නැහැ. අන්න ඒ වගේ තමයි zombie process කියලා කියන්නේ. Linux වල එහෙම zombie process වලට අහු වෙනවා අඩුයි. running state stop state තමයි mainly තියෙන state දෙක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට හම්බෙන්නේ. ඔය දෙක තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඕක තමයි run life cycle එක process එකක Linux වල. දැන් තේරුණාද ඒක? Any questions, concerns so far what we have discussed? Anything else? Anything else, guys?
Yes.
Right. So the next thing that we will be going to discuss here is like different type of commands. Like I show you. So let's see how we will be going to deal with these commands in the process management. So let's go to the practical environment and I'll show you some commands that we are going to use it. Right, the first command that we are going to be in order to look at what are the running processes in the Linux systems and what is the memory utilization, CPU utilizations, we are using the top command. Top command will gives you the current snapshot on the running processes. You can see now in here top command, it says the time is this one up for the 9 days. So the server is running up and running for the 9 days. One user logged into the sessions, load average in the sense, this load average shows you the load average on the CPU for a 5 minutes, the 1 minute average, 5 minute average, and the 15 minutes average. So load average for the 1 minute average, 5 minute average, and the 15 minutes average. So that is called the load average on the CPU. Then the task, if you look at the task, there are the task in the sense the current processors running in this system. There are 9 to 92 Linux processors are running right now. Out of the 92 Linux processors, you can see only 1 or 2 processors are running. Rest of the 90 processors are in the sleeping mode. Sleeping in the sense, actually like a stop mode. So it's in the sleeping mode. There are no zero stop services, processors, and zero zombie processors. This is the CPU percentage timing, which is we're not going to discuss, but you can see the memory. So the total memory is 806 megabyte. Out of that, we will be using the altogether buffer, and the use time is altogether nearly 600 MB, like 700 or 620 MB, 180 MB will be free. Right. This is when you go there, you can see the process ID and all the details on here. How much of CPU utilizing from this one and the service. You can see Apache, like whenever you want to get the sort, if you want to sort out with the memory utilization, just press the Shift M. Shift M can capital M memory utilization 4.8% of the MB memory they are using for the SSD underscore NSS. TUND they are using 2.8% from total memory. Apache HTTPD they are using 2.0%. In here also the Apache they are using 1.7%. System daemon that's 1.7%. Likewise when you go down, so you can use the up and down arrow key to the go. See here, you can see it's moving. Up and down arrow key to list down all the processes. So until up the left. Like if I show you in my current machine, so my machines, this is how it works. When you run the top command, you can see I just run in the Shift M. You will be seeing like this service is up for about 12 and 30 hours, 12 hours and 30 minutes. 8 users logged in, actually 8 users in the sense I have been logged in the different users. So load average, you can see it's a high load average. For the first minute time, it's a 1.89 load average. 2.2 now it's increased. For the first 5 minutes, it's 1.71 load average. For the last 15 minutes, it's 1.69 load average. මේ load average එකෙන් කියන්නේ running process කොච්චරද කියලා. tasks, there are 296 tasks are total running. 2 is still running, and 302 it will be waiting, and 293 is a sleeping mode, 0 stop and the 0 zombies. So if you look at the memory total, it's a 16 GB RAM. Out of that, we will be utilizing 13 GB, only 2 GB, like nearly 14 GB is utilizing, nearly 2 GB is free to use it. So whenever you can use it, so the Zoom will take 83% of the CPU. Look at this one, Zoom, and the Firefox, they have been taken like 2.7% of the CPU, but memory wise, Firefox has taken 5.8% of the memory, total memory. Zoom also taken the 5.1. That I have sorted with the memory utilization. The web content, this is the Google Chrome. You can see the utilization, and whenever you going down, so just see the utilization here. So it's pretty much hard running machine right now at the moment that I'm having. So this is how you can, it's a current snapshot. Make a ඔයාට පේන ඇතිනේ මේක vary වෙනවා මේ values vary වෙන්නේ මේ values vary වෙනවා මේ free memory එක වෙනස් වෙනවා මේ ඔය මේ running process වෙනස් වෙනවා මේ දැන් ඇත්තටම live snapshot එකක් තමයි දෙන්නේ මේ top එකේ live snapshot එකක් ඕකෙම තව command එකක් තියෙනවා htop කියලා මේක නම් නෑ දාලා මම බලමු අර Linux machine එකේ තියෙද කියලා ඒක වෙනම දාන්න ඕනේ ඒක මම නම් දාලා නෑ ඇත්තටම but you can install it. Htop, there is a command called htop. It's a nice graphical view. Let's try to install this one. Now you can see me. ආරකම තමයි ටිකක් ලස්සනට දෙනවා colored view එක මේ. එහෙනම් space bar එක ගැහුවම ටික ටික highlight කර කර යනවා. ලස්සන colored view එක දෙනවා. ඉතින් මේක දැන් ඔයාලට කරන් ඔයාගේ machine එකේ snapshot එක බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් ඉතින්. මේක ඉතින් තව එක එක features තියෙනවා මේකේ ඔය ඔයාලට search කරන්න ඕන නම් F3 එක ගැහුවා search කරා. F3 එක ගහලා search කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය F පකුර ගහලා Firefox කියලා ගැහුවට පස්සේ ඔය එක එක ඒවා පෙන්නනවා. F3 එක search කරන්න. Likewise you can do lot of things. Like if you want to quit, just press Q. Top එකෙත් එහෙමයි. Top එකෙන් අයින් වෙන්න ඕන නම් Q එක ගහන්න අයින් වෙනවා. So this will give you current snapshot, and මෙතන ඔයාලට පේනවද මේ WordPress කියලා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. මේ තියෙන්නේ Word කියලා කියන අර මම මේ කිව්වේ virtual memory, Press කියන්නේ resident memory. මෙතන අපිට CPU time එකට මේ ඒක cursor එකෙන්ම කෙලින්ම කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ virtual memory කියලා, what we call it as a virtual memory is the virtual memory that is using, and the resident memory is the corresponding residence memory, in the sense physical memory locations. So that's what they are going to do. That's what they are going to do. Is it clear, guys? Like, do you have any issues, concerns with this particular tool? Do you need to know anything else in here? Like any questions, concerns? Like this is one of the good command that you can utilize. You can get, if your machine is running slow, you can get the idea what are the processes which actually consuming your resources. So if those are unnecessary processes, you can shut it down, those processes. Is it clear, guys? Like, are you having any issues, concerns, anything special that you want to know?
සේව් වෙනවා process ඇතුළේ process මේ වෙනවා දැන් මම දැක්ක browser එකේ මේ Firefox කියලා දෙක තුනක් තිබ්බා tab open කරලා
ඒ child process මම ඔයාලට කිව්වේ
හරි හරි
child process සමහරලාට දැන් මේ Firefox එකේ නම් යන්නේ දැන් අර ඒක යන්නේ tab open කරනෝනේ අපි tab 4 5ක් 10ක් 15ක් open කරාම හැම tab එකකටම සමාන process එකක් run වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් උදාහරණ මේ මෙතන පේනවා මේ policy git daemon කියන එකට processors කීපයක් run වෙනවා මේ. network manager එක මේ අපි කලින් කරේ network manager එක මෙතන processors 3ක් තියෙනවා. process 3 තියෙන different process ID වලින් මේ. මේක process ID බැලුවොත් 734 735 736 3 different process IDs. child process වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට. Clear the English?
ඔව් සර්
Anything else? Any issues, concerns? Guys, any concerns so far what we have discussed? Seems you are fine, right? Okay, so the next thing that we will be going to look at, so you have learned about the stop and the top command and the PS command. So PS command will give you like there are different type of options. The first command that we will be going to use is ps-aux, which is given you are running processes on the Linux environment. It's not the current snapshot. Where a command එක execute කරන වෙලාවේ රත් වෙච්ච process ටික තමයි තියෙන්නේ. අර විදිහම තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඔයාට ඒකේ කවුද user run කරන්නේ කවුද process ID එක මොකද්ද CPU මොනවද memory මොනවද ඔය ටිකම බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Everything will be there. ps-aux. Like ps-ef command also there, that ef options also similar thing which will be giving you similar type of output which is running on your Linux environment. Similar kind of output. So the ps command will be heavily utilized whenever we want to ensure that, let's say for example, if you want to ensure that the Apache process is running. Top command එකෙන් බලනකොට වැඩිය ලේසි මේකෙන් බලන එක. මෙතන කෙලින්ම grep කරා නම් Apache කියන process එකට මේ. පේනවා මෙතන process කීයක් run වෙනවද? process 4ක් run Apache එකේ. 72923 72924 72925 72926. There are 4 processes running in this here. So if you want to get those sort of details, like whether if you want to ensure that particular service is running or not, whether it's okay or not, so what you can do is you can use the ps commands. PS commands will not give you the current snapshot of the running processes. It will give you the snapshot of that time that you are executing the process, which is having different things. But here you can see this is the parent process 72921. So this is the, like, say for example, just forget about this one. So if you look at this one, the process ID, the third column is the parent process ID. Parent process ID is the parent process. Like for the Apache also, you can see the third column is the parent process. This is the parent process ID. These all are the child process IDs that you can see here. That you can see here. Is it clear, guys?
yes sir
Any questions, concerns, anything else that you want to know? So whenever you're going forward, so what you need to understand here is, now there is another interesting command, free-m command. This command will give you the snapshot of your memory. you can see the, I'm just not going to talk about the SAP environment. This will be discussed with the along with the disk management, most probably like next, this not this week, like next week onwards, we will be able to discuss about the disk management concepts also, but not for the time being, just skip this one. But you can see the real memory details. Free minus M command will be giving total memory is 806 MB. This is will be giving you the MB size of the MB. Use size is the 169 MB. Free size is the 206 MB. So you can see those informations has been given here, as you know. So this is how it works. This is how it works. So the necessary information has been given to you. Necessary information has been given to you. Are you clear, guys? Like this is also another important command that you can use utilized in here. Do you need any clarifications on this regard, or you have been cleared with this? So guys, please, these are just important things, like whenever you are going to deal with the Linux live environment, see these commands might be very much useful, because in order to control your processors running in the Linux systems. In order to get the process IDs, like for a particular process, you can run this command, ps-ef command. You can run the grep command, that is greping only for the Apache, like specific content that you are executing, asking. Are you clear, guys? Like, do you need any clarifications, any questions, concerns so far what we have discussed? Anything else that you want to ask? Please just ask. Like, I'm not quite sure. Like, it's like you didn't ask much questions, like early sessions. That's why I'm like again and again asking whether it is cleared or not.
Yes.
Guys, others, how about you? Okay. Right. Now, sometimes you might need to like when you're dealing with this Linux environment, sometimes there might be a like requirement to say, for example, kill these services, like killing the services. Whenever you want to kill the services, we have two options that you can use it. One is the kill command, the other one is the pkill command. The difference between the kill and the kill command, the main difference, whenever you want to kill the command, if you're using the kill command, you really require to know the relevant process ID that you are going to kill. But if you are going to deal with the pkill command, you don't want to know process ID. If you know the process name, you can use the process name and ask them to kill it. That is called pkill, stand for process killing. So that's the benefits that you are. Apart from that, there are obviously like a different type of benefits. Like, say, for example, if you want to kill out any processors which are related to the particular user, so then of course you can do it. That is also possible. Just give me a second. Sorry guys, so I just kicked off, I guess. Can you hear me? Right, you don't have any issues, right? Hearing me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so the interesting thing here that you want to understand here is, like, if you can remember this one, like process kill and the pkill. Like, say, for example, now let's look at the kill command. If you want to kill this process, like, you can use the kill and the process ID. Let's say, for example, this process ID 72921, 72921. So once you kill that one, so if you didn't like just use the kill and save the process ID, it will be giving you the graceful killing. Now you don't see anything. Graceful killing in the sense, it will first kill the child processes and then will kill the parent process. That is called the graceful killing. But there is options that what you can do is, let's again start the service. I'm going to start the HTTPD service again. Now again, if I grep here, so you can see with the different process IDs. Now, if you kill -9 options, there is a -9. That is a possible killing. Possible killing in the sense they don't consider about whether are they running any child processes, parent processes, anything. Just instantly they killed it. So just they are going to instantly kill it. So there are two things, like if you just run the just kill command, what they are going to do is it's going to be the graceful killing, like kill gradually, like parent process and then the child process, so the child process and followed by the parent process. But when you run the -9 options, it will be killing everything at one shot without doing the graceful kill. Like whenever you run the kill -15 command, kill -9 command, it's like a sudden killing. But if you just run the kill command, that is like a systemctl stop command. They will be gracefully killing every other things. Is it clear, guys? So when you're dealing with these kill options, are you clear? Like, do you have any issues, concerns so far what we have discussed? There are so many things that we need to we will be not going to discuss on the killing options. I'm not going to discuss these things. That's not uh, I just want to give you like this. These are the things that you need to refer. But when it comes to the real world, you will be getting experience with these things. But for the time being, is it clear to you guys? Do you need any clarification, anything so far what we have discussed with the kill command and the kill command that we discussed here?
Yes, okay.
Right. Anything else that you want to know, guys? Anything else that you want to know, guys?
So PS command PS3 command එකේ වෙනස මොකක්ද?
PS3 command එක මම ඔයාලට කියන්නම්. So there is a command called PS3. PS3 command එකේ කරන්නේ ඔයාලගේ process tree එක පෙන්වනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ පටන් ගත්ත තැන ඉඳන් මේ තියෙන process tree එක කොහොමද build වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? system daemon එකෙන් පටන් අරන්. system daemon තමයි මෙතන parent process. ඒක ඇරලා තියෙනවා network manager child process එකක්. audit d, avahi daemon, crony d, cron d, scopes daemon, dbus daemon, httpd. httpd එක ඇර තව process daemon දෙකක් තියෙනවා. නේ? polkit d, rhmc d, rsyslog d, sssd. මේකේ SSSD එකේ තව child process එකක් තියෙනවා ssd_nss කියලා. So likewise you will be seeing that like this is they will be given you the entire process on the Linux system. So that is the tree, like a tree, starting from the top and they are going back to the bottom. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Anything else that need to ask like about these type of questions? Any questions other than this? Any specific questions, concerns, guys? Right. So let's discuss about the pkill command also. Now, as I told you, whenever you want to deal with, you don't want to remember the process ID. Just say pkill Apache. So that will kill the Apache. Simple as that. See, still there. -9 Apache, let's say -9. Yet still there. Right, sorry. My mistake that I just used I just use actually username. May Apache run and use again kill karanne giye. That's my mistakes. So what you need to do is a process name. Process name make HTTP HTTP ke dunnama kill වෙනවා. So you don't want to remember anything. Like see here. Now if I start again this one particular thing. So now you can see that will be available. You don't want to remember anything. Just if you know the process name, just run the command. That's it. See. Even if you want to kill like say for example here, if there is a command called w -f, like you can you can look at who are the users logged into the systems. What kind of users logged into the system. So if you want to kill those users, like say for example, if you identify that there is unidentified users has been logged into the system from the unidentified source, right? Unidentified source. What you can do is you can say just kill the user session. EC2-user. I'm telling that -u in the sense user. EC2-user. I'm just when I run it, I'm going to kick out from the session. See, session එකෙන් kick out වුණා. දැන් මට log වෙන්නත් බෑ මේක අපුල. So that is possible. Now I'll be able to log it again. But when you run the pkill command, what they are going to do is you will be kicked off from the session. So even if you really want to kill the users, the processors which are owned by the different users, what you can do is you can do that one with the pkill command, where the kill command does not have that capacity or capability. Now you can see here, it's as simple as that. Pkill -u stand for user. Are you clear, guys? Do you have any issues, concerns with this? Guys?
Clear, sir.
Any issues, concerns? මොනවා හරි දැනගන්න ඕනද ඔයාලට?
Sir, P kill එකේ නෝ kill එකේ වෙනස මොකක්ද කිව්වේ?
දැන් කිව්ව මට තේරුන්නේ
නැහැ sir මගේ අර signal drop වුණා මම හිතුවා P kill එකේ වෙනස මොකක්ද කියලා.
pkill එක advance command එකක්, kill එක advance නෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ kill එකේ ඕගලන්ට process ID එක විතරයි දැන්. process ID එකෙන් විතරයි process kill කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ process ID එක දැනගෙන තමයි kill කරන්න ඕනි. pkill එකේ වට ඕන user කෙනෙක්ගේ process kill කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ තියෙන pkill -u කියලා ගහලා ඊට පස්සේ ඕනනම් process name එකෙන් kill කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ pkill httpd කියලා ගැහුවම process ID එකට විතරක් kill වෙනවා. ඔයාට දැන් ඔයාගේ machine එකට log වෙලා ඉන්න usersලා කවුද කියලා බලාගෙන w command එක තියෙනවා. w space -f කියලා ගැහුවම ඒ process කවුද user මොකෙන්ද මොන terminal එකට log වෙලා ඉන්නේ, login time එක මොකද්ද, idle එකේද ඉන්නේ, කොහොමද CPU utilization එක, ඊළඟට දැන් මොකද්ද ඌ කරන්නේ, what he is doing. මේක නම් මොකුත් SSHD විතරයි කරලා තියෙන, වෙන මොකුත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. That is what they are really going to do. So this is how you will be knowing that one, like what they will be really doing there. So the w -f command we can use in here.
Yes sir.
Any issues, concerns so far what we have discussed?
No sir.
Anything that you want to know? Right. So then again, so this is how you will be going to deal with this process management. So there will be several things that you have to understand. So the ps command, kill command, pkill command, and then again top command. So these are the important commands which we will be used for the identifying the processors. And if you want to free command, free -m command to identify the utilization of the memory. Likewise, there will be a lot of things that we will be going to learn, and within this Linux environment. So apart from that, like the main commands actually, as I told you, like if you look at again the ps minus aux command, so you can see a lot of the things that they have been given here, like the who is the user which is run this process and the command that is running and starting date and even the time that is elapsed for this particular one. So these are the commands that they are showing to you, like what type of commands that you are running in here, so everything. So and you have the man page here, like whenever you are going to deal with man ps command. So the man ps command will give you some examples also. My like if you can use the minus ef command, minus aux, so ely command also, they are like, it will give you different type of options here. So like you can see different extra parameters, like in which terminal that is running, and everything will be given here, like in the ely options. So the parent process id, parent process id, and this is instead of the username, they are giving the user id of the user which is running this process. So likewise you can refer these things. And when you're dealing with this top command also, top command, if you want to kill any processors, what you can do is you can press k. So whenever you press the k in the top interface, they will ask process to PID to signal the PID to signal kill. So you can select the process ID, like whatever the process ID in here mentions. Like say for example, that's of course you should know the process ID. If you don't know the process ID, like they will be getting the first process that is displayed in here. First process the default process ID is 74722. So like if you want to just to exit from that one, so you can just exit from there as well. So let's again try out, like if you want to kill the exact process ID, you can use it. But the searching functionality on this top command is not quite easy. Like the ps command, you can use the grep command to search it, like grab it, whatever the content. But in here, it's not going to be easy. That's why we will be not frequently using the top command. But top command, of course, you are going to use whenever you want to get the current running processors details on your Linux operating systems. But other than that, you will be not using the top command. Like in the server environment, you mainly focused on the ps commands rather than the top commands as well. Is it clear, guys? Like, do you have any issues, concerns so far what we have discussed? Anything that you want to ask, anything that you want to highlight in the process command, process management?
Yes, sir.
Sure, right? Right. So any issues, concerns, anything else, like what we have done so far? අපි දැන් මේ කරපු මොන හරි වලට issues තියෙනවා මොනවම හරි. Just we have gone through the high level, like a basic idea of the understanding of the process management. We didn't go through the in-depth analysis, like for the whenever we are dealing with for the RHCSA, we obviously doing some more additional concepts and advanced concepts there. But in your case, we have not gone through those additional content because that really not help you to understand this one, because you must understand first the basics and you have to practice on that, and then only you will be able to understand the other relevant concepts there. Is it clear, guys? Do you need anything else that need to ask anything else? Because this is actually about, like, it's just a small chapter that we have discussed about the process management. And the next thing actually what we will be going to focus here is like this with the process manager. This actually we will be completing the process management today. Like the next chapter that we are going to discuss is the log management in the Linux environment. How we are going to manage the log. What are the important log files that you need to look at? So those things we will be going to discuss in the next sessions. And once we complete the log management, the next thing that we will be starting is the file system permissions, like starting from the basic file system permissions, and then we will be going ahead with the other permissions models as well, like advanced access control list, like we call it as ACLs. And once we complete the ACLs, also that file system permissions, once we wind up. So next thing that we will be going to discuss about the disk management. There we'll be going to discuss how you will be partitioning the disk, formatting the disk, and even the mounting the disk. And we will be just discussing the traditional file system, where we will not going to discuss the advanced file concepts like VDO, virtual disk optimizers, and then the logical volume management concepts, because that is not will not that will be basically cover it out with the advanced concepts on the Linux environment when you are going to learn it. And once we complete that one, we will be concluding your basics system administration chapters, and along with that we'll be going to cover out two other industry implementations that we will be looking at, like a DNS and the Apache server. So once they cover out those two chapters, like there will be practicals again. So this particular entire course content has been goes as a practical sessions. So nothing to worry. So we'll be definitely covering out the rest of the chapters also as a practicals, and you will be learning a lot of things throughout those things, like especially the DNS and the Apache server configurations. Those are the different kind of industry implementations which we are going to learn, and from the basics. So I'll be just discussing about the basics of these concepts, and apart from that I'll be discussing the rest of the things as well, like implementations. And so like if you do have your own websites, I'll show you how to host your websites in that environment. So that's actually what we are planning for the next couple of weeks. As I told you, like we'll be planning to cover out your lectures at the end of the July, and especially if we will not be able to cover out within this like end of July, like we'll be dragged only to the first week of August most probably. So nothing to worry about it. But anyway, we'll be going to cover your syllabus as we planned. Right. So anything else, guys, that you want to ask in related to this one, because we are going to wind up the process management chapter from today, like just a small chapter that we have discussed. And even the next chapter that also we are going to discuss, the log management, it is also going to be a small chapter. But any specific things that you want to ask, anything else? Okay, so if you don't have anything else that you need to ask, so then let's wind up for today, and we'll meet on hopefully tomorrow. Like I'll let you know the times, and we'll go ahead with the log management. So until tomorrow, like stay safe, guys, and have a good night, and we'll meet on tomorrow.